Hello, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today, I want to paint a Tonalist watercolor landscape in watercolors and just have fun. Really no palette restrictions, no utensil tool restrictions, anything like that. I just want to paint. We've been doing experiments with flowers. We've been playing around with different pigment combinations. Today is kind of painting for myself and having fun. So I have a quarter sheet of Stonehenge Aqua. I am thoroughly saturating it with water. It's 100% cotton, and it is a 140-pound cold press. And once we get a nice coat on it, it'll start soaking it in and warping, and we'll stretch it out. And I'll use the approach that I adopted from the Tonalist oil painters. I always give a shout out to Mr. Stuart Davies, who paints in oils in this fashion. And we'll start off with the Ranson hake brush. I'm not going to clean my palette. I'm just going to clean it with the brush right there. And we'll start with some raw sienna. I was thinking about potentially a Hudson River Valley style tonalist painting, maybe background mountains, lake, foreground trees, but we'll just see where it takes us. It is Wednesday after work, doing some laundry, took a bath. And now I'm just relaxing. Using the raw sienna to kind of map out where I'm going to want everything to go. Some people will sketch with a pencil if they want. I didn't mean to laugh right there, but some people will sketch and mark out and actually plan things out. I unfortunately don't really do that. But oddly enough, I was doing that yesterday with some graphite and some, what was it? Then a pan of the Japanese-esque watercolor. I think I like this bright feel in the sky. I put out a few fresh colors. The one color that I always have to put out fresh, since it always gets corrupted so easily, is the lemon yellow. I'm curious how that'll be if we put it in the sky. It always pushes a green for me. I'm flinging water everywhere off this brush. Let's throw some lemon yellow, and we'll try to leave it alone. More dynamic sky than I'm usually going with. Bring it down below. That's Hammy jumping around behind me. Let's see. I feel like we can really flourish with maybe a burnt sienna, or maybe light red oxide. So we haven't cleaned the brush off, we're just pushing pigment around. Maybe we'll go for a beach type feel. Kind of that classic hook shape. I don't know why I always hook on this side though. A lot of people will hook the other way. You know, I've never been to the beach in Louisiana. They have some, and I've been crabbing and fishing and all that, just not to a beach. I think there's Holly Beach or Cameron is a popular place to go, or was. I think it was hit hard by hurricanes a few years ago. If you want to go red fishing and whatnot, that's apparently a good area. So we'll do maybe distant mountains, closer mountains. When things dry, we might do another further mountain back there. Burnt umber. Let's do a kind of rocky face that will overhang this other mass. I can do that on this side too if I want, or at least some stuff showing up. Let's grab some Payne's Gray. I have Payne's Gray all over my hands. I was getting the last bit out of the tube. I do have a lot of different art supplies coming in. I placed an order for some different brushes with Amazon. I placed an order with Blick and a gentleman, Mega, who comments in here, very generously offered to send some paint samples, and I believe a brush or two that he has made. So when those come in, we'll explore all those things. I was looking at the Daniel Smith paints. I ordered a few of those, and by few only like 2 or 3. They're kind of pricey. Some people had requested certain colors and suggested certain colors, so I got those. So, you know, for the benefit of the channel and for, you know, people that requested that. So when those come in, that'll be fun. Flattening my paper. So all I do is just push the edge and push the clip and place it down. All right, this Payne's Gray is really getting this to pop forward more because of tonal reasons than anything else. If we could very gently add some tonal changes in this background. To get that soft variation. Bring this over here. I was looking at the Daniel Smith, the basics. It was like a set of 3, and also Da Vinci brand set of 3, the trios. But I didn't wind up ordering any of those. Down the line, maybe. Or if there's anything obscure that you all recommend or would like to see, let me know. Hammy, what you doing, bud? All right, so this is the sharp edge of a cut-up credit card. This gives the dark lines. It'll show up more when I dry off. We should have a huge tonal shift, at least in the foreground, with all that Payne's Gray. It's getting a little texture in here now. We could probably scrape out some rocks. I think a lady asked on YouTube for a tutorial about that. And what I'll do at the end of each month is kind of put out a questionnaire on YouTube, what you all want to see me do. And then I'll do a follow-up with discussing some of those things, and then I'll try to do them. Just pushing this pigment around here. You can see areas where I'm scraping back quite a bit, where I scarred the paper with that sharp edge. Hammy just knocked everything over. Okay, I'm going wet and wet in the sky. This will be softer foliage. And we'll place some stuff over it. If I put too much in this foreground, I'll block off a lot of that background, and I feel like that's a no-no. Let's grab some raw sienna. Grab some light red oxide. I'm holding the hake brush by the very end. Not for any reason, just to have fun and just put that in. Maybe something back here. Kind of close the scene off. See how it is when it softens. Throw a little bit of Payne's gray in there. That'll soften. Bring up a little bit of stuff to see if we want to create a foreground tree there. Look, so it's so wet you can see the flow of the water. I'll glob some Payne's gray in at the base of where the tree will be. Right in here. Little vertical marks. And I think I'll do a dry off. Yep, let's dry it off and we'll see where we're at. I'll move this light so we don't get that glare. All right, I used the blow dry on a low setting first because it was still so wet it would have pushed a lot of pigment around, and I didn't want to get any of those drips or runs taking place. In addition to that, I then kicked it up a notch, but it's not completely dry. I'm very happy with how soft this got. It's got really, really soft. We didn't put any trunks or branches or anything in. Usually we do that and then allow it to soften, but this time we'll just go in and layer. This, I gotta start writing people's names down because I feel bad saying this gentleman, this nice lady, etc. I'd like to be able to refer to you guys by your names, or at least your usernames. I think it was a Mr. Thomas who had followed along with some of the two color paintings, the indigo, etc. And he had gotten just an amazing amount of depth from the two color combination. It was just absolutely beautiful. He might have used something instead of a phthalo blue, maybe a phthalo green, or created a phthalo green. I forget what his combination was. So this is the #1 rigger, Colin Woodward, who posts on the Ron Ranson Disciple page. He's from the UK. We started calling him Sir Woodward because he's painting so fantastically. Somebody had commented about how much work he was putting in with the rigger, with some of the trees within his paintings. I think that inspired me to take a moment and spend a little bit more time on the branch work. Not so much the direction of branches, etc. Just putting a nice quantity of them. I feel like you can get away with a minimal amount at times. And oftentimes I rush them, or we'll put them in the minimal amount since I'm filming a video for YouTube. This is going to go out to Sir Woodward and his dedication to the twiggy branch work. He's been working out of a book from an artist, Bellamy, I think. Bellamy. I don't own any of those books, but the scenes are great. They're very grandiose and border on the sublime. My understanding of the sublime art movement or concept was the larger than life feel that was often given. Now, the interesting thing here is that I feel like I'm just creating a flat wall of this foliage, and the goal will be to create a sense of depth in that spot. Let's come over here. This would have been very nice wet and wet, creating our trunks and twigs, branches, but unfortunately it did not apply much foresight. So we'll see what happens. Either I'm going to come over it with the hake for more texture and depth and more feel to it, or we'll allow them to soften and see what happens. Speaking of which, I'm going to switch to the number 4 rigger. This is going to give me a thicker line and not have to reload as much. I am going to, I could do two things. I could either create thicker trunks amongst here, like such, so that we have a variation of thick and thin. I can also start a little bit lower in the picture plane to bring some trunks a little bit closer, and then the thick aspect from the lines plus that little bit lower in the picture plane, plus a little bit more maybe color, tonal value, darkness, will help create depth there. I have a lot of pigment on the hake, which I can wipe off on the towel. I think I mentioned in the last video different ways people will dry their brush or pull moisture or pigment off of it. The gentleman Mega who comments, I believe he was saying he has a sponge nearby that he uses. I used to have a kitchen towel that I would have right here and wipe off on there. And I have read in some art books that some artists would wrap a roll of toilet paper with, I thought it was a paper towel, but it might make more sense to wrap it with a kitchen towel, and that would help with the moisture. I really haven't looked at an art book in quite a while. There's some that I need to go through, and I know I've talked about looking at some art books on the channel and doing reviews of that. But so many ideas, so little time. I have 10 to 20 more years before I could retire from teaching, before I'm allowed to retire from teaching through the retirement system and all that. So by then, hopefully, this channel has blossomed into something ginormous, and I'll have time to do things like that. That being said, I'm very happy with the direction of the channel and the interaction of everybody. The questions, the comments, the Hammies. Hey, Hammy. Yeah, what's up, bud? That's your nails. Yeah, it's Hammy. Dude, you want to get up here and say hi to everybody? Or no? So, I'm going to experiment with just a light smattering of foliage. All right, we got the number 4. I'm going to grab some more raw sienna. Do some closer trunks and try to do a little bit of depth. I didn't do any dry off, so some of it'll bleed, but it'll just add to the texture and the interest. I don't have a light enough Hammy. That's your nails, bud. He likes to sit in my lap, but he will put his paws up on my thigh. I don't know where Percy is. Hey, man, where's Percy? Let's throw a little Payne's Gray to the shadow side and see what happens. Now that we're dried off, a little bit more texture. I have a few more hake brushes to play around with and review. That's been fun so far. I've been really enjoying the results of just any hake brush. Just playing around with new tools is fun. Even though, if you watch a lot of the videos, I use such a limited palette and such a limited amount of tools. I mean, here's everything I'm using. Come over for this with a little bit more depth. All right, let's do a dry off and we'll see where we're at. Maybe get a little bit of scraping in first. This one has such a great just light to it. All right, I'm gonna pause. All right, so we're relatively dry. Grabbing the number 4. Yeah, I put out some raw umber earlier. I couldn't find a tube of it. Eventually I found it. And I did not reach for it. This is a mixture of raw umber and burnt umber. I was going for that richer, warmer Van Dyke brown type feel. Yeah, Van Dyke brown. If I pet you, you're gonna get Payne's Gray all over you, Hammy. All over you, bud. He's tried so hard to climb up. Hold on. Let me, Hammy. Hammy. All right, bud. Hold on. There you go. Sit down. All right, I got Hammy on my lap. I'm gonna paint around him. What you think, bud? You're gonna get your fur all over it. Okay, just lay down. Such a good boy. All right. So here's the number 1 rigger, and we are just adding to the depth and the detail. Trying not to pass over exactly what I've done in the background. This is so the other guys show little bits and pieces through it. I'm repeating some of the shapes, but trying not to repeat them side by side. I'm going to take this side and help ground this a little bit more. We got to switch for a little bit of foliage, a bit darker, so it appears a little bit closer. That's just kind of my little go-to. We could probably even put brighter raw sienna over it. Are you trying to get off now? Or no? I'm sorry that this video is all about Hammy. Oh. We're hitting that stage of thick pigment. This is something talked about in other videos. The bronzing effect, where it starts to have a sheen to it even when it's dry, kind of like a leather look. Handprint.com talks about that, and I always describe that as a rabbit hole of pigment and watercolor knowledge. I looked at it a lot whenever I was first getting into watercolor, and I mean, the person has just fantastic information and it's a fantastic website. It was definitely not where I needed to look as a newbie. do is try to darken this area here, create a little ridge here, bring our dark ridge here, some lines and texture in that foreground. Hopefully that's showing up. Then we can grab the number 1 and have some foreground branches coming out of this spot. It's the same color as this tree right here, so I'm going to have to switch it up some. If you look there and there, they're going to seem like they're the same color, and it's going to affect that sense of depth, and that's an issue. So I'm just going to cheat and use more Payne's Gray. I have no idea how Ham is going to react when I turn on the blow dryer. I'm gonna freak out. Just put a little dry brush, side brush there. Concerned about how complete that side looks, or incomplete. Okay, Hammy, we're gonna dry off. Let's say hi to everybody. Say hi. Hi. There you go. All right, I'm gonna pause for a blow dryer. All right, so far so good. Let's see. I feel like I say let's a lot. Number 1, a bit of light, let's put some birds in. Nice splatter horizontally across the foreground. A lighter mix. Splatter some burnt umber. Sienna. Let's see. I think this shape that I'll put in, it's kind of from a Herman Herzog, a kind of tree trunk with a little bit of growth coming out of it. That'll sit up and hopefully push this guy into place. There's probably nothing wrong with it. It's probably just me being all fiddly. And if we come along here, bringing that texture, lead it back to it, and then it would recede back. Just trying to get a slide. There we go. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's do our last dry off. All right, I'm pausing the dry off to darken this fella here. In person, it's a little too light and it's receding back, so it needs to pop forward. Okay. All right, I'm gonna call this one done. I'm gonna sneak my signature in right in here. Someone asked what I used to sign my paintings with. I use the Micron pens. A fountain pen with the platinum carbon ink is good. I also use the jelly rolls sometimes if you kind of want your name to pop out over what you're working over. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed me and Hammies' antics. And hopefully Percy Poo joins us for the next one. And you are more than welcome to follow along. Please like, subscribe, follow Hammy. Come on, dude. And I will be back soon with more videos. You all take care and have a great day. Bye.